YouTube a social media channel? You know, I get this question a lot, and it's an important thing that anyone that's deciding to do any sort of content marketing strategy needs to have in place. Because when you understand how YouTube works, you can actually use that information to work backwards to create a strategy that works well on that platform. Honestly, it's the same thing on any platform that you choose, but on YouTube specifically, it plays a little bit differently than, say, over on Facebook, over on Instagram, even over on LinkedIn. All of these platforms are truly social platforms, which means there are real people interacting with real people. And it's very easy to comment back and forth. It's easy to share content within the platform. And it's easy for you to interact with those other real people on the platform. However, YouTube is actually more of a search engine, and actually Pinterest falls in this category as well. YouTube is more of a search engine in that the content you create on YouTube has the ability to live longer, and it has the ability to get shown and discovered by new people who are searching for that kind of content. And so if you understand how YouTube works, and you understand that it truly is a social media platform, you can create content that is going to rank well and answer questions surrounding specific topics. This means that your content is able to be discovered, which is a really strategic thing when you are trying to use that content to reach new customers, to reach new clients. And when you can do this, you ultimately build your audience. And in my world, I love talking about building authority, and I love building authority on places where there's a longer lifespan. So how is YouTube actually similar to a social media platform? Well, it's similar in the sense that the users and the viewers tend to dictate what performs well on these platforms. So you notice that there's a lot of social signals in terms of view time, in terms of interactions. So if they like it, if they give a thumbs up or a thumbs down on a video, if they comment on the video, any of these things are going to help increase your video's content. And ultimately, you do have real people interacting with the content. So it's more than just a website. It's more than just content that could rank well. It's content that people will want to interact with that could rank well. But you don't have that sharing within the platform feature like you do over on Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn. These are features that are really more in a social media setting where there are multiple people interacting with the same piece of content and can share back and forth. Over on these other platforms, there are other algorithms that go into play that can affect how well content does on those specific platforms. Now, that's not to say that content can't perform well on both places, but it is important to think through what is going to perform well in your different settings. So, some of the content that performs really well over on YouTube tends to be how-to videos or things that get into specific pain points, such as answers to specific questions. So, at the beginning of this video, I mentioned that a question I often get is YouTube a search engine? It is. It's also, I get the question of, is YouTube a social media channel? And it kind of is, but it's different than other platforms. And so by answering these questions in this video, I'm able to answer that specific question. And you might be caring about the answer to this question now, or you may be caring about it 2 years from now. But what I love about YouTube content is that it has the potential to rank better long term. You know, we talk about lifespan of content, and when we talk about social media platforms and strategy, we often talk about repurposing content so that it has its maximum lifespan. But what about creating content from day one that can perform well for many years to come? And that's what happens when you create content over on platforms like YouTube. And I mentioned earlier in this video that Pinterest is also a platform that tends to have that longer lifespan. Pinterest is another social media platform that tends to act a lot like YouTube. Now, YouTube is owned by Google, so from a standpoint of search engine quality, I still find that YouTube tends to have a much higher quality ranking and is a place where I would rather spend a lot of my efforts if I'm trying to rank for specific keywords. Now, Pinterest has its time and place, and I'm sure I'll talk about that in another video, but both of these platforms have the potential to really be search engines. And so that begs the question of, let's go back to our search engine strategy for our brand at large. Odds are you've identified a few keywords that you are targeting so that your brand will rank high and your brand will get recognized by your potential new clients. And so when you apply that same keyword strategy over into your video work or over into your Pinterest content, you can really start to see how some of these efforts aren't supposed to act in silos. They are actually supposed to work in a comprehensive mix. And so I really encourage people to think through, how is your SEO strategy informing what you're doing on social media? And YouTube and Pinterest are two applications where you can see direct correlation between your keyword studies and the keyword research that you have done for your brand and how those can actually play and support what you are doing on social media. And they can help inform what you're doing for your brand at large. So yes, you can drive great traffic with YouTube, and yes, you can get great views, great results, but it can also help be driving more traffic to your website. And ultimately, we want to make sure that any of the efforts that you're doing over on social media platforms have a bigger, broader reach than just the results for that platform alone. That's why I love platforms like YouTube, where you can really get a lot of bang for your buck and make some really fun content in the process.